Welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. Welcome, everybody. It is Friday Junior, folks. Friday Junior. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, DNC night number 4. That's right. The last night of the DNC is today. Michael Hasser, welcome. Heat, how's it going? Kamikazion, welcome. Mayhem Hippie, welcome. Made it, indeed. Just in time. The bots, welcome. That's right. The lovely channel bots. We've got 2. Who else saw Walt's speech last night? It was excellent. His kids' reaction were priceless. Yeah. And as Michael Hasser said, yeah, the Republicans started attacking his son for having just a proud reaction to his dad. And so much so, by the way, it was so bad that even Matt Walsh, okay? Even Matt Walsh, one of the most disgusting human beings, found a moment of humanity and actually said that was wrong. Out of all freaking people, Matt Walsh. The Simulacra, welcome. Republicans are confused by people whose children still talk to them. True. Alrighty, folks. We have a few things to go through. I'm exhausted. I'm ready for the weekend, folks. Folks, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the follow button. Keep liking the stream, okay? It really does help us out. I see you guys on the YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Consider checking out the merch store, folks. We just revamped the merch store not too long ago, and I'm actually wearing what I had in the background yesterday. The sample of the sweater that I'm gonna post, that I'm going to make live later. It actually came out pretty freaking cool, if I do say so myself. But yeah, given the fact that like Twitch, for some unnecessary reason, they claim it's necessary, but they have been steadily rising the prices of subs, and I don't think that's fair to the viewers. So. Especially those who want to support the channel. So instead, in lieu, if you want to support the channel, there are many different ways. Consider doing biddies. Consider directly tipping the streamer, or checking out the merch store. Nice. I think so. I think it came out pretty good. I don't know. It's got the the side logo thing going on. I think it's pretty cool. In any case, that is one of the many ways you can support the channel. I appreciate you guys hanging out, and let's get started, folks. At least streamers are getting the same percentage, more money instead of the same amount, smaller percentage. Yeah, at least the percentage is staying the same. That's true. It's just costing more per sub. I think it's $8 now. Or if you're Turbo or have Amazon Prime, you can support the channel that way. I mean, that would be the icing on the crap cake, right? Like have the streamers get less percentage per sub. I mean, that would be a Twitch thing to do, but you know, 6 US instead of 5 on the site. Wait, is it 5? Is it still 5 on site? Oh, wait, no, maybe the prices haven't changed yet. The prices haven't changed yet because it's supposedly going to be it's supposed to be going to be different later. I'll tell you in a second. Give me 1 second. That's how much the mobile subscription have always been, $6. Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's the mobile app price. You're right. Let me go back to that. I'll tell you right now. Just to make sure I'm not yeah, so it's starting October 1st. Starting October 1st, the mobile, that's right. The Twitch sub prices on the iOS and Android apps on mobile will be $8 or $7.99. That will happen October 1st. Gotcha. That's right. Mobile price. Mobile app price. Yep. There you go. Just had to make sure I got everything right. Yeah, so it's gonna be on the mobile, and yeah, the point being is if you want to support the channel, there are alternative ways of doing so, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. Well, I think this is an appropriate start here.
I want to relive with all of you the most powerful moment from last night's DNC, and this may end up being, most likely, the most powerful moment from the entire week. This is during the Tim Walz speech, and I'm telling you, I may tear up again. I have watched this clip over 10 times now, and I can't help but well up because I'm just thinking about it, and it's already happened. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a ripoff anyway. Just sub with the computer and then still use the phone to watch. True. There you go. That's a loophole right there. Not a loophole, but you know.
Watch this. So before I cry too early. So this is like about a minute or so, but this whole sequence is so fantastic. And the amazing part is he's given the majority of the speech before, and I've seen it before. But the way it hit last night and the moment with his son. Let me just play this.
And we made sure that every kid in our state gets breakfast and lunch every day. So while other states were banning books from their schools, we were banishing hunger from ours.
So before we even get to the most powerful moment, look at the incredible framing, and just, you know, apart from the obvious amazing policy of passing free lunch and breakfast for kids at school, the framing of that, you know, red states banning books, here I am banishing hunger, showing you the contrast in priorities. And in terms of the actual policy, we're talking universal lunches, right? So this is not something you have to apply for and then hopefully you get, and then those students are, you know, outcast because, oh, look, they get the free lunch and we got our own food from home. This is universal. Everybody, every student eats it. This is a policy that is not only obviously beneficial for hunger, but also helps to foster community. And think of the benefit to the parent not having to worry about making, you know, lunches for their kids to go to school with. That frees up their time as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with David on this. I'm gonna try not to cry again.
So it's just amazing, obvious policy that really every Democratic governor should be trying to pass in their state. And he did it with a one-seat majority. I'm going to get to the rest of his agenda as well, as Kyle Kalinske on Twitter has been a big supporter of Walz, even well before the VP discussion, and has a massive list of like the incredible accomplishments that this man has done. But let me get to the moment now.
We also protected reproductive freedom because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
Yep.
And that includes IVF and fertility treatments. And this is personal for Gwen and I. If you've never experienced the hell that is infertility, I guarantee you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call, the pit in your stomach when the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you. I'm letting you in.
I gotta pause there for a second. How goddamn beautiful is this moment? Mm-hmm. You know he's an amazing father when you have kids that love you like this.
Yep.
Like, can you imagine Don Jr. Trump giving his speech, and has he even mentioned he loves his kids? I don't know, maybe he has. But during his speech, oh, my kids, Don, Ivanka, the other two, you are my whole world. Yeah,
the other two.
And then Don Jr. getting up there, like, I love you, Dad. That's my dad up there. Can you?
Nope.
Of course, that would never happen. It's just
and like that kind of like goes to the whole like thing that these disgusting people are attacking Tim Walz's son for this, for having pride and getting emotional at a emotional speech with quite frankly an emotional moment that got very real for not just to him, but you know, for his family and for everyone who has experienced this.
The commitment that that Tim Walz has clearly had to family, to community, to people, to bettering the lives of others is so clear. It's clear in how his family loves him. It's clear in the stuff he has accomplished as governor with a 1-seat majority. It's clear in the fact that he had a whole career beforehand, be it being a
correct. Never has. Right. Men can show emotions. Real men show their emotions, Republicans. Right. And that's perfectly okay. Don Jr. has said his daughter is, was that Don Jr. or was that Donald Trump? I mean, it wouldn't be surprising. I'm just asking. It wouldn't surprise me if they've both done it. Because, yeah, that tracks.
A veteran and a teacher. And what his students said about him. Like, it is, which was also there last night, that this is such a perfect pick for anything. Like, this is the kind of person you want in a position of power in government. Right. Someone who actually cares about people. And here he is, so close to the vice presidency.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
I don't.
Not to mention, his net worth, this is according to Fortune, his net worth...
Oh, he said it out there, though. Jesus, after she spoke at the RNC.
Is apparently less than the average Americans. It's around like 330,000. Less than the average Americans. Now, yes, he's in Minnesota. I'm sure cost of living is a bit lower than other states. But it shows you this is not someone who has prioritized their own wealth. He also apparently has no stocks, which is like practically unheard of when it comes to Congress people.
Right, and it's not like he couldn't do any of these things. He specifically chose not to have conflict of interest and championed or backed legislation to prevent Congress from having conflict of interest. So it's not that he didn't want, that he couldn't. It's not that, like, being a congressperson didn't give him opportunities. It's just that he purposely chose to do this, which is pretty unheard of. Yeah, like father, like son, like daughter. Oh, God. Man. A politician with scruples, how unique. Yeah, seriously. That's the word I'm looking for. Unique. Very, very difficult to find.
Anyone in government. So it's just, man, Kamala Harris made such a good decision here. And she also deserves credit for making this decision. Think of all the moneyed pressures that were around her to pick someone like Josh Shapiro, who mainstream media pressure for Josh Shapiro as well. There was a lot of pressure to pick Josh Shapiro, who's an incredibly polished politician. I'm sure he's accomplished things in Pennsylvania. I'm not saying he's, a terrible choice, but
I am.
Tim Walz is someone who can actually connect to people. And I did a video yesterday on recent polling around his favorabilities. He has his lowest favorability in swing states is a +4 in Pennsylvania, which is the highest among the entire four people, all four on the ticket. So, among Kamala Harris, Trump, J.D. Vance himself, he has the highest favorables in swing states. And that's also considering a lot of people haven't even heard of him yet. So this night he's going to be, more people are going to be more aware of him now. And I assume, based on this amazing speech, we'll come away with a largely positive impression of him. But this is someone who... VPs, you never really know how much it's really going to help the ticket, because again, they're not the president. But right. When you have JD Vance, who is so unliked, like terrible favorables, or I should say high unfavorables, and you have that compared to Tim Walz, who has high favorables, I believe the gap between them is about 30 points. When you have, actually, it may be higher than that, but when you have that massive gap between the two VPs, I actually do think, and especially in swing states, I actually do think that Walz on the ticket is going to help Kamala Harris. I'm already seeing a lot of comments, actually. People are saying, I think in this unique situation, I think it actually does
Like, is it like a radical like game changer as far as like the election is gonna go? I don't know. But it's definitely a positive for it's definitely a positive for Harris. Uncle Vanasso, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome.
And again, these are comments on YouTube, social media. Who knows if these are real people? But people saying that, hey, I wasn't all that interested in Kamala Harris. Sure, she's better than Biden, but I wasn't sure I was going to vote. But her picking Tim Walz made me realize that actually, yeah, I do want to vote for this ticket. Whether it's because of Walz or whether it's because it shows Kamala Harris's willingness to not just think inside the typical Democratic Party box. Like, again, this is not a guy who is backed by donors at all. An incredible pick. So I'm gonna cry looking at this. gotta get that off the screen. Amazing. So what did you think about the speech last night? I thought it was incredible, even though a lot of it, as I said beforehand, I assumed it was going to be much of what we heard before. He's not going to rework an entire speech because a lot of his speech already was talking about his previous, or his record, his life. So there wasn't much you could really change there. But it was still engaging, even though I had heard that speech a bunch of times. At least most of it. It was incredibly engaging and so well done. I think Tim Walz last night, hopefully a lot of people were introduced to him, and I would love to see how this may impact people's thoughts about the entire ticket. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. That said, I forgot to show you. I got so sidetracked. I forgot to show you the incredible
Sir. Mr. Dole. To the power of magic YouTube editing
policies that he passed. So we will end on this. So Kyle Kulinski, again, who was on the Tim Walz train long before the VP discussion. So credit to him. But universal free school. So again, Walz policies as Minnesota governor and a congressman. Universal free school breakfast, universal free school lunch, legal cannabis, carbon-free electricity by 2040, tax rebates for the working class up to $1,300, 12 weeks paid family leave, 12 weeks paid sick leave, banned gay conversion therapy, red flag laws for guns, universal background checks for guns, automatic voter registration, free public college under 80K, ban on forever chemicals, $2.2 billion increase in K-12 school funding, sectoral bargaining for nursing home workers, opposed Wall Street bailouts in 2008, voted against outsourcing deals, codified Roe v. Wade, right to repair, 100% rating from Planned Parenthood, banned non-compete clauses, raised minimum wage for small businesses, raised taxes on multinational corporations, protected gender-affirming care, banned medical providers from withholding care over debt, protected construction workers from wage theft, and massive Minnesota infrastructure bill. I will link to this below the video in case you want to reference this at any point, with friends and family. This is exactly the person you want in Kamala Harris's ear.
Yeah, I think so. What a communist. True. Whispered something so crazy you'll start laughing. Actually, this is pretty pertinent to the whole RFK thing that we went over yesterday. So I'm gonna put this up here. This kind of goes to what we were talking about yesterday with RFK and the possibility of not only him just dropping out, but endorsing Trump. So yeah, I'll cue that one up.
What a fantastic choice.
I agree. I agree.
One thing that the Harris campaign would love is if President Biden would bring home a ceasefire in the Middle East right now between Gaza and Israel. And we know that Secretary of State Blinken is over there right now working with Netanyahu. The reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now because it's believed that would help the Harris campaign. So I don't know where that, I don't know, who knows whether that will come about or not. But I have to think that the Harris campaign would like for President Biden to do what presidents do, which is work on that one. Yeah.
Exactly. Please stop shooting, I say as I reload the gun.
Surprise, surprise, Trump is reportedly pressuring Netanyahu behind the scenes to reject a ceasefire deal because it would, of course, help Harris. And politically, it makes sense for him to root against the ceasefire deal, although morally, it makes him one of the most despicable human beings on the planet. A Gaza woman and her 6 children were murdered by the IDF this week. An entire family gone like that. Last week, a man lost his wife and their newborn twins. A minimum of 40,000 people have been murdered, but all Trump can think about is how their suffering might be able to benefit him politically. It is downright despicable, and there aren't enough words to describe how disgusting he is as a person. And not to mention, if this is actually true, he's breaking the law by sabotaging the United States because under the Logan Act, private diplomacy is unlawful. Quote, any citizen of the United States, wherever he may be, who without authority of the United States, directly or indirectly commences or carries on any correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof with intent to influence the measures or conduct of any foreign government or of any officer or agent thereof in relation to any disputes or controversies with the United States, or this is key, to defeat the measures of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. So this isn't just similar to when Trump told Republicans to reject Biden's right-wing border deal because, sabotaging domestic policy, that's one thing. But it's an entirely different thing if he's actually undermining the United States on the global stage. That could carry the penalty of prison.
Right. Treason. Why are we having a former president undermining the foreign policy for not only just undermining foreign policy, not only just undermining foreign policy, but specifically for his own political benefit. Yeah, I see it thinking, Sabercat. Apparently the Logan Act is hard to prosecute. Well, I mean, they definitely should look into this. Definitely, John Rando as well. They should definitely look into it because, man, that's not okay. We can't just have former presidents doing this without any kind of repercussions. George H.W. Bush likely did the same with hostages in Iran during the 1980 election. Yeah, not cool. Not cool. Private citizens circumventing the official diplomatic process is pretty uncool. Yeah, some would even say some would even say that's unpoggers. And prosecutors should be looking at that. Did you know there was an attempted assassination on Trump today? Yeah, I don't know.
But, I think that he knows he can do this with impunity because that's the way that Trump operates. And to be fair to Trump, it's not the first time that this has happened because as the New York Times reports, Nixon also tried to undermine Johnson's Vietnam peace talks. So, it's not necessarily anything new when it comes to American politics because politicians are more than willing to spill the blood of innocents for purposes of political expediency. But Trump is just one of the more brazen ones when it comes to using war to his advantage, even though he tries to portray himself as somebody who's anti-war. But, that's a fucking joke. But when it comes to Netanyahu, it is time for Democrats after this story to finally wake up and see him as the partisan actor that he is. Netanyahu has been very clear. He wants Trump to win. That's obvious for anyone with eyes, right? He's a Republican for all intents and purposes. And the fact that Biden hasn't adapted to that political reality demonstrates why he's so unequipped to deal with Netanyahu. And it's why he's been humiliated publicly and undermined so many times by Netanyahu over the last 10 months. But everyone can see Netanyahu is in the tank for Trump. He wants Trump to win. 3 weeks ago, they had a private meeting at Mar-a-Lago, and we don't know what was said between the two of them, but Trump did publicly say that Harris was, quote, disrespectful to Netanyahu since she didn't go to his joint address to Congress. But since that meeting, Trump has been beating his chest on this issue, and he's even threatened to deport so-called Hamas supporters in the United States, i.e. anyone who criticizes Israel for anything ever.
Right, like what is like that's we went over this clip yesterday. It's incredibly freaking scary because like anyone protesting, just protesting for Palestinians' rights to be alive is going to be considered a Hamas operative or whatever. Yeah, I looked into it. Termites are good. Apparently, it's true. They are looking for this person. Apparently, it is true. Putin wants him to win, as it's becoming pretty obvious that the Russian military, especially in Crimea, are on the verge of surrender.
And he's even attacked Biden for being too weak on Israel's critics in the United States. And he's also attacked Biden for pushing a ceasefire in the first place. So Trump is trying to outflank Biden from the right on this issue, but that's pretty difficult to do because Biden is already materially supporting Israel in every conceivable way, even though Trump is simultaneously accusing him of not being pro-Israel enough. Like, how could he possibly be more pro-Israel? He's doing everything that they want them to do. But for Trump, it's not enough, apparently, which is absurd. But, Trump can try to convince voters that it is the case that Biden is too weak on Israel because Netanyahu has been helping him make that case. He's publicly blasted Biden for supposedly withholding weapons from Israel, which is a lie.
Yep.
But that lie was spread by Netanyahu to help Trump. The only bombs that the Biden administration withheld were 2,000-pound bombs because those are too destructive for civilian population centers. But guess what? Biden is still giving them really big bombs and never stopped. He gave them...
Right, like... The flow of arms to Israel has not really stopped. Not really. At all. What more worrying, Trump has said he wants a mandatory 5 years in jail for burning the flag like a piece of fabric is equal to minor theft. Yeah, like just brazenly flaunting brazenly flaunting the idea that he bemoans the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. I actually saw that. Good point. Good point there, Thinking Sabercat. I actually saw that. Yeah, it's pretty freaking dangerous when you have a candidate talk like that. Talking about jailing people he deems domestic terrorists, jailing people for expressing their First Amendment right to free speech. It's pretty freaking scary.
500-pound bombs, and the DoD just approved another $20 billion for Israel last week. So Biden has allowed Israel to violate international law and commit war crimes with impunity and shielded them at every step of the way and has been a complicit participant in this genocide. But yet Trump is like, he's not doing enough to help Israel. And Trump is now trying to somehow be more hawkish than Biden on this issue. But the only way that he can plausibly be to the right of Biden on this issue is with rhetoric, by claiming that he'll be even more supportive of Israel and crack down on free speech here in the United States against critics of Israel. So it's disingenuous for Trump to say that he's more supportive of Israel, but I mean, Netanyahu is still rooting for Donald Trump regardless because he knows Trump won't even have to pretend to care about Gazans like Biden does.
Right, which even then, that's kind of, yeah. If I bought a flag, I can use it for anything I want, especially the stars and stripes would be useful for my shower floor. Yeah, well, the thing is, like, burning the flag is a political, symbolic statement against the government, right? And we have the freedom of speech to do that. Like, that's the whole point of having the First Amendment, is to be able to express our grievances as it is explicitly put in the First Amendment against the government. Like, that's literally what that is about. But does Biden really care about Gazans? No, I don't think so. I don't personally. I don't think so.
So being a little bit more unrestrained is why I think Netanyahu wants Trump back in the White House. Not to mention, Trump moved the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem and he gave Israel the Golan Heights. And Trump's Abraham Accords bypassed Palestine to normalize relations between Israel and other Arab countries, which is in part what led to October 7th in the first place. But regardless of how unproductive Trump's policies were, Netanyahu liked those policies and he's been very happy with Trump. And I'm assuming he wants to repay the favor by helping Trump get elected again to see how much more he can get out of a Trump administration. And one of Trump's donors, a pro-Israel donor, Miriam Adelson, is saying, she'll give him millions of dollars on the condition that he allows Israel to annex the West Bank. So when Trump says he's going to be to the right of Biden and more supportive of Israel, a lot of it is talk, but there are things that he can do to conceivably be worse than Biden on this issue, if you can imagine it, right? Now, the fact that Biden can't see that Netanyahu is in cahoots with Trump is so frustrating to me. And I say this because to even say that the Biden administration at this point is pursuing a ceasefire deal is just wrong. Even though we keep getting headlines about how Israel accepted the ceasefire deal and now it's on Hamas to do the same, that's all bullshit. And I want to show you what I mean by that. Axios reports, quote, Hamas on Sunday rejected an updated U.S. proposal for a ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza, blaming Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for moving the goalposts and the U.S. for indulging him. The White House has claimed significant progress had been made during talks in Doha over the past several days. The rejection of the new proposal, which was presented to the parties on Friday, makes President Biden's goal of getting a deal this week almost impossible. Now, I want to pause right there to discuss the headline, because the headline puts the onus on Hamas, right? It emphasizes that Hamas rejected the ceasefire deal, which suggests that Israel is the one pursuing peace, even though they just executed Hamas's political leader when he was in Iran. Now, if you execute the person that you're engaging in diplomacy with, or supposed to be engaging in diplomacy with, what exactly?
Right. It's not just that they executed the guy in Iran, but it wasn't the guy that they killed, the guy that they assassinated. Wasn't he like one of like the, if not the top negotiator? He wasn't just some like Hamas leader. Like he was the guy. He was the guy for negotiations, right? Or at least very top brass when it comes to freaking the negotiations going on. I don't think that's the really meaning of hawkish, but in reality, Netanyahu is trying to stretch this conflict to next August to taint the elections in Israel. Well, I don't doubt that. Netanyahu, if it was up to Netanyahu, he would have perpetual infinite wars so long as he doesn't get, scrutinized, because once all this is over, his political career is done.
Exactly does that say? It says you're not a serious partner for peace. You're not actually trying to strike up a deal if you execute the person you're trying to negotiate with, right? They're not serious about peace. Netanyahu wants to prolong this war as long as possible because when it's over, so too will be his political career. And
yeah, I mean, literally what I just said. Like, literally what I just said. In the UK, I have a Union Jack pair of Y fronts. In the Britain, our figurehead is the king, not the flag. It's really immaterial to what British people feel as their identity.
He may even face corruption charges. So he has nothing to gain and everything to lose by actually agreeing to a ceasefire and ending the war. But he still agreed to a ceasefire according to this article, right? According to the Biden administration, right? So if he agreed to a ceasefire, why wouldn't Hamas accept it? That's insane. Well, let's look at the details of this so-called ceasefire. Axios continues. Hamas objects to the fact that the proposal doesn't include a permanent ceasefire or comprehensive Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. It would also not allow the free movement of civilians from southern Gaza to the north because it endorses Netanyahu's demand for control of the Netzarim corridor. The proposal would also give Israel control of the Rafah crossing and the Philadelphia corridor along the Egypt-Gaza border, as Netanyahu has demanded per the Hamas statement. Hamas said Netanyahu also reversed previous concessions and set new conditions in the prisoner exchange process. All this prevents the completion of the exchange deal, Hamas said. So this is a ceasefire in name only. The terms of the ceasefire Biden touted before, where a temporary ceasefire would lead to a more lasting ceasefire potentially, are no longer on the table, right? The terms have changed. There's no permanent ceasefire here, no withdrawal of IDF forces, not to mention Gazans would no longer have free movement between northern and southern Gaza, and this greenlights a more stringent occupation by Israel in Gaza. Now, I understand that Biden is anxious to get this done and he wants to rush to solidify something because he's worried about escalations between Israel and Iran and Hezbollah, and those escalations could potentially draw the United States in further. But why would Hamas agree to a deal that doesn't actually lead to a permanent ceasefire? It doesn't make any sense. See, this is why so many activists are calling on Biden to do an arms embargo, because so long as you keep supplying them with the weapons to continue this genocide, they have no reason to stop.
Correct. Ceasefire goals keep changing. Yep, Netanyahu wants his crusade and will do anything to get it. Yep.
They're not going to do what you want them to do if you won't use your leverage, Biden. And if he would have been able to get a ceasefire without an arms embargo, that would have been a different story. But the fact that these talks have been going on for so long and nothing has changed means that Biden's strategy has failed. But he still won't change course, which is all the more reason.
Right. So knowing that your policy is not working, there's, really logically no incentive, right? If I was Netanyahu, what incentive would I have to stop what I'm doing if what I'm doing has no consequence, right? Like what leverage is being used against Netanyahu if we're just continuing to give him what he wants without no conditions? Nothing. Allegedly, in the land of make-believe, we're being told that, we're trying to be very conscious of what Israel uses these weapons for, and we want full accountability. But in reality, that's not happening. That's just not happening. Yeah, well, it is up to Harris, assuming she wins. And in order for her to win, she should demonstrate she should demonstrate her plan. Although gets complicated as she's the vice president currently. The main reason why an arms embargo can be dangerous is Iran and even Syria. If they feel America doesn't support Israel, they might attack on two fronts. If there's a large civilian death, then it guarantees a Trump victory. That's not true at all. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Like, if that's true, then maybe Israel should, stop what it's doing. Maybe Israel should stop what it's doing. Does that make sense if that's the case?
Reason why Kamala Harris should make it very clear that she'd be different than Biden on this issue, because if she doesn't, the stench of Biden's failure here will get on her, and that's something that she doesn't want. Now, the senator from Michigan, Gary Peters, who was in contention to be her running mate, made it very clear that Kamala Harris should definitely start to draw distinctions between herself and Biden on this issue because of how much he's fucking this up. Not his words, mine, but nonetheless, what he says is a very important point.
You think it's important for her to show that distinction on her views toward Gaza with President Biden?
Yeah, if she has those views, she has to be clear about whatever those views are. She'll have to make.
Doesn't she?
Yeah, if she, and I think she has differences.
Yeah.
Joy. An arms embargo just raised the price for them to get weapons. It doesn't limit the weapons. They just shop from the black market. Right, but it won't be like directly from us. Does that make sense? Israel will not stop since the moment it dies. The prime minister will lose an election, go to prison.
And she'll talk about it.
Have you-
Back to authenticity. Be who you are.
Yeah.
Be what's in your gut. Tell us what motivates you, what drives you. People wanna see that.
Will you convey to her at some point next couple of weeks that she ought to do that?
Yes. Oh, if I have a chance to, yeah.
I'm sure you will.
And he's right. But as I've said in other videos, she doesn't necessarily have to be explicit about her disagreements with Biden. She can be more implicit and signal her openness to a policy change without explicitly saying it. Although I don't think it would hurt her to be...
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, allowing the Palestinian voice to be heard on the DNC stage.
more direct. She'd win over more uncommitted voters, and she wouldn't lose any moderates in the process who also support a ceasefire. Like, most of the country supports a ceasefire, so I think this is the right step. And Harris distancing herself from Biden's failed policy here is becoming increasingly necessary, especially in light of news that Trump, like Netanyahu, is also trying to sabotage peace talks. Under these conditions, I'm sorry, you've got to throw out the old playbook and adapt to the new political reality.
Right, and like both Netanyahu and both Trump have the exact same motivation, right? Does that make sense? Both Netanyahu and Trump have the exact same motivation. To do what they're doing, right? Because if Trump loses, that's it. The investigations into him will continue. He can't dismantle the special counsel that's building cases against him that are going through the court systems. Netanyahu, if he agrees to a ceasefire deal, it's over. It's done. They will come indirectly from the U.S. Right, both are trying to stay out of jail.
Netanyahu is a partisan actor who's in the tank for Donald Trump. Not cutting off weapons to Israel and allowing...
Right, but not just in the tank for Donald Trump for the sake of being in the tank for Donald Trump. He's doing that because his political career and freedom is on the line. It was a vote loser and backed off immediately, as lots of people in the West don't feel responsibility for Israel, and preaching can literally do more damage. Yeah, but like at this point, like I don't think, I don't think it damages. I think, I don't know how people feel in the UK. I can't really speak on that, but it is an issue. It is a very important issue. And as far as like the Democratic base, it is an important issue.
Them to
you have to acknowledge this. As Kamala Harris, you have to acknowledge this as the VP. The nominee, I should say, not VP. As the nominee, you have to acknowledge this.
Continued the genocide literally helps Trump. That is what Biden is doing at this point. He is helping Trump by not doing an arms embargo, and his weakness here is a major political liability for Harris since she's tied to him as vice president. And if Biden isn't going to do what needs to be done to stop the carnage, Harris should say that she'll do what Biden won't do in order to win over the uncommitted voters, and more importantly, in order to stop the bloodshed. Because let's remember, we're talking about human lives here at the end of the day. So what's mere politics to us here in the United States is a deadly nightmare to Gazans that just won't fucking end. It's been 10 months, and the time for this to stop is long overdue.
Yep. Agreed.
Donald Trump made a statement at his rally in Pennsylvania this past Saturday that flew under the radar. I mean, sure, there was a couple people talking about it here and there, but it definitely didn't get the attention that it deserved. So I think we need to talk about this statement from Donald Trump because it does one of two things. One, it either proves that he automatically wants to be an autocratic dictator of the United States for the rest of his days, or two, it proves that his brain is so far down with dementia that he should not even be able to run for public office here in the United States. But after looking at this for a while, I'm convinced it's definitely one of those two. Maybe both, I don't know. But here is what Donald Trump said at that rally on Saturday. You know, they do polls on this stuff, and I'm at like 93%. I said, so why are we having an election? They didn't have an election. Why are we having an election?
Red flag. Trump has dementia, but Biden was fine. Got it. No, I don't think anybody's saying that at this point in time. I don't think anybody's saying that. And it's so apparent that they made him step down. They made Biden step down. So yeah, I don't think anybody's under that impression anymore. It's interesting. Destiny pointed out recently that Israel is the largest political divide between boomers and millennials, when most of people are now 60-80. Think about pre-secondary Antifada. Israel is the same today because, like I was saying, people rarely change their opinion on the subject unless they're focused on it. Globus the Elder, welcome.
Why are we having an election?
Yeah, and also, like, just to be clear, like, it became so bad that they literally made him step down. Is Donald Trump gonna step down? Is Donald Trump gonna step down? No. Is the Republican Party going to do the right thing and make him step down? No.
Donald Trump asked a very bored crowd. Now, there are, as I said, two possibilities here. He said they didn't have an election, which of course everybody assumes means that he is talking about the Democratic Party. You know, Kamala Harris did not have to go through the primary process, but the primary process, folks, for both parties, by the way, is just for show. It goes to the convention. Whoever the delegates at the convention pick, based on the party's rules, that person becomes the party's nominee.
Yeah, like, technically, that's true. Technically, like, there doesn't need to be, like, any primary election, which is a pretty messed up, setup that the two major parties that control the levers of power can literally, they basically have it so that it is a privilege for us to participate in the primaries. Trump also said that everyone wanted to end on Roe v. Wade, even though 62% of women want to have access to abortions. Yep, well, Trump says a lot of stuff. Why should I trust people that lied about Biden's mental state for years? Okay, you shouldn't. So what does that have to do with the conversation that we're talking about now, which has nothing to do with Biden?
If the Democratic Party or the Republican Party changed the rules, then the delegates, could really vote for whoever they want, and then that person would become the nominee regardless of the primaries.
I'm a boomer and I stand with a free Palestine. Nice.
Now, the problem with this theory that Donald Trump is referring to the Democrats like they're not having a primary, why did we have a primary, is that he was not speaking in the past tense. as Steve Bannon pointed out on NBCnews.com. He's not talking about why did we have an election. He said, why are we having an election? Because the primaries are over. They've been over for a while. Donald Trump has been the official Republican Party nominee now for a month. He already got his delegate votes. J.D. Vance got his delegate.
I was a supporter of Palestinians until about 2000. Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't care about 2007. I don't care what happened. I don't care. I know what I know is happening now, and what I'm seeing with my two eyes right now, what the Israeli government is doing, is the essentially the extermination of the Palestinian people in Gaza, and that's just not okay. That's not cool. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. 2007. I don't care. I don't care. I don't. Like, I don't care what happened in 1970. Like, I don't. You can try to, like, well, I'm not saying you, but like a lot of people try to, like, oh, but we have to go back, and like this is why I don't care. I'm watching what's happening now. I'm watching the children in pieces, okay? I'm watching that now. So yeah, I just don't. I'm watching videos in the timeline that show up of you know, body parts and children being completely blown up, women, elderly people. Like, it's just not okay. It's just not okay. It's not cool. And right now, it's the Israeli government engaging in this genocide. So I just don't care. I'm on the side of, like, human beings and human life, and yeah, not okay. Not cool. Not okay. Politics is about looking forward, not back. Yeah, I guess. Sure. You know. Progress is about looking forward. This is why I avoid Twitter and stick to Threads. Yeah, well, I mean, it's happening. You know, whether you try to avoid it or not, it's happening, and it's very real. You know.
Delegate votes, they're the official nominee, but he's speaking about it as if it's something that's still happening, which leads us to point number 2. If he is talking in the present tense, which he is, then he clearly has to be talking about the current presidential election. So if he is talking about the current presidential election, why are we having an election? Then that leaves the two options. One, Donald Trump, who says he's at 93%, which he didn't provide any context for that.
Yeah, he probably got that off a Twitter poll that Elon put for him.
Didn't say if it was 93% approval rating, 93% of Republicans support him, or if he's polling at 93% nationally. But no matter which one of those it is, that's not true. He does not have 93% of the Republican Party. His support among his own party has fallen. He does not have a 93% approval rating either with the general public or with the Republican Party. And he's damn sure not polling at 93% against Kamala Harris.
Right. Like, none of that makes any sense. Because it's not true. I don't know what freaking poll he was looking at. Oh, wait, I got an idea. He probably was looking at a poll that he did himself on Truth Social, where the only people there are his cult members. In which case, within his own cult, then yeah, I could see that. The genocide in Rangoon is happening, but I have no active power to stop it. The UK is not selling weapons to Israel, but there's nothing that can be done. Well, the UK is not selling weapons to Israel, but we are. We are. So, yeah. That you see why it's kind of a bigger issue here with us, because, like, we are literally having a direct hand in this. Like, A to B, we are selling the weapons. We are the ones doing this. So yeah, like, that's not the same as, like, if the UK is not selling weapons and they're not actively participating in this, then, like, it's different than the US, which is actively participating in this. I'm at 69.4, 20%. I'll let you fill in the context. Another delusional Trumpy. Bye-bye. Maybe if they come back, they'll listen. I'm sorry that your cult daddy, has made you believe, these absurd things. But I can assure you, maybe one day, should you decide to leave the cult, Mr. B. Healy, you would realize just how much of a clown, this dude is. I mean, like, no 5 seconds to even question a number of 93%. Like, can you imagine? Like, who has that type of, like, polling within, like, let alone, like, their own party right now? Like, not even Kamala Harris has a polling that high. Who is the biggest star in the Democratic Party? AOC doesn't even have that type of approval rate. It's just not a thing. It's completely made up. And, like, yeah, cult daddy, exactly. Maybe, with the 10 minutes that you've been timed out, you can take 5 seconds to question that narrative. Oprah, yeah, like Michelle Obama. Does Michelle Obama have, like, well, she's not even a politician though. Yeah, Bernie's not even a Democrat. And he's like the highest, one of the highest members of Congress, and I don't think that's even breaking 90s. It's a Trumpy chart. It gives off the hypnotic signals.
So he just made that number up. But he says, if I'm at 93% of something, why are we having an election? I should just be president, right?
That's the real crux of the issue, right? Like, he's basically saying the election is over. Why are we even doing this? Because I won. Because, like, in his deluded mind, in his, like, alternative reality, that he's made up for himself, he's already the president. So, like, why are we even having an election? That's like, man, that's different levels of different levels of scary. With enough time and exposure, Tim Walz will be the Democrat top celebrity.
Easy to draw that conclusion from his statement, which would mean the suspension of the United States elections. We install him as the leader, which in fact would be a dictatorship. So that's option one of what he could possibly mean. He gets to be dictator because he's at an imaginary 93% on something, right? Option two is he is so demented that he genuinely doesn't know, why are we having an election? Also a possibility, right? His nephew, Fred Trump III, in an interview with Dean Obeidallah over the weekends, reminded everybody that his family has a history of dementia. And he sees in Donald Trump some of the same things he saw with his own family, the members who had dementia. So could this be Donald Trump having a dementia moment?
No, I don't think so. We've had way too many autocratic statements from this dude that this is not a coincidence. This is a pattern. This is a long and well observed pattern. So no, I don't think he's demented. I think he genuinely means that. I think he's desperate. I think he's scared, because he knows that if he loses, the investigations into him will continue. It's really, in my opinion, it all comes down to that, right? Like, he has to win. There is no if, and, or buts about it for him. He's all in. This is it. He's all in. He's put all his chips on the table. He's all in. He's going all in. That's it. That's all he's got. I really doubt it too. He's just doing his typical whiny persecution shit combined with healthy dose of authoritarianism, right? Which is a pretty well documented thing. Article 2 says I can do whatever I want. The president must have total immunity. This has been well documented of how he feels. With so many GOP jobs going, he's 93% constipated. Yeah, I don't even know where that's a very oddly specific number. He probably had some kind of poll done on Truth Social where all his cult members live. I don't know.
Where he genuinely he made up a number off the top of his head. Didn't even say what the number was. He's like, I'm at 93%. Why are we having an election? Who smells burnt toast? Is it just me? It's possible. It's possible that he may have genuinely forgotten. Why are we having an election? What year is it? Who knows this?
No. I disagree with this part.
What is going on? Why am I up here on a stage? Who are you people? I don't know. I genuinely cannot answer this question because Donald Trump is so crazy, possibly demented, possibly crazy, hungry for authoritarian power.
Yeah, I think it's that one.
Genuinely don't know. But I do know that is an uncomfortable statement for a candidate to make. Why are we having an election?
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, as per usual.
And before the 2020 election, he was already saying I don't know if there'll be a peaceful transfer of power. This is well documented. So no, I don't think he's having a moment. I think he means that because he knows millions and millions and millions.
The media did a really crappy job of talking about this. When you have a Republican candidate who also happens to be a convicted felon and was impeached twice, let's never forget that. When he's asking, why are we even having an election? I don't know. Kind of seems like the media needs to put in a few headlines so that people understand this man either wants to cancel the election and be a dictator, or his mind is just turned into so much goo that he honestly doesn't know why we're having an election right now. Hi, everyone.
I don't know. His mind being goo, and the fact that he has authoritarian tendencies, he's a fascist. He's a fascist. That's not an or statement. That's an and. His brain can be goo, and he's also a fascist. But in this particular case, I will go with the fact that he's just making another authoritarian statement. And he's right. Farron is right. The media, this should be wall-to-wall coverage. I agree with Farron. The media is doing a very poor job. A very poor job of putting this to light because of all the nonsense that he says. Things like this kind of slip through the cracks, but these are kind of the important stuff, right? But that's just my opinion. Okay, so the Thinking Saber Cat gave me this one. I think this is pretty this is just going off the back of yesterday. Not yesterday. Was it yesterday? Shoot. Yeah, it was yesterday, where we talked about RFK possibly dropping out of the election to endorse Trump. This kind of piggybacks off that conversation. How do you boil a toad? Gradually, we just get used to the environment of fascism. I don't know why you'd boil a toad, though, right? But yeah, that's kind of it. That's literally how you have to do it, right? Because generally, a populace won't just outright accept fascism. Generally, if a populace won't just outright accept fascism, you do things to normalize it, and by the time you know it, you're in, and that's it. Nothing you can do about it. Don Jr. says, possibly found a Newsweek article in MSN says Donald Trump has claimed some polls are showing like 93% of people say they were better off during his presidency than during Joe Biden, and that may be no need for an election. Oh, yeah, well, case closed, everybody. 93% of people say they were better off during the Trump presidency. So, you know what? Cancel the election, folks. It's done. All right? Phenomenal. Don Jr. says, I love the idea of giving RFK control of a federal agency just to blow it up. Former President Donald Trump's son, Don Jr., told Glenn Beck on Wednesday that he loved the idea of giving Robert F. Kennedy Jr. control of a 3-letter entity in a future Trump administration to blow it up. The endorsement from RFK, do you think that's coming? Asked Beck during an interview on his show. Stop it. Jeez. Come back. To which Trump replied, quote, I hope so. You know, I think RFK, I think he's a smart guy, and I think he's actually got good views on certain things. Yeah, like vaccines. Anyways, why don't we just listen to him?
The endorsement from RFK, do you think that's coming?
Listen, I hope so. I think RFK, I think he's a smart guy. I think he's actually got very good views on certain things. I think there's some other things, we're going to disagree with him on. But I think it shows sort of
where to dump the body of a dead bear.
A unity against, literally, you mentioned it before I hopped on, about the communism that we are up against. It's not hyperbole anymore. It's not.
No, not hyperbole. Actual communism, folks. It's coming. It's here. Or it might be here. I don't know.
They're just a little bit more left than us. It's not, these people, she's talking about, we want to set up price fixing, and we want to set up this, and we're going to be auditing businesses, and we're going to take away your business.
Yep. Communism. Yep. That's exactly how communism works. When you regulate a market so that the market doesn't fail, because if you don't regulate said market, it would fail, especially when you come to things like food. Nah. Goodbye. I'm not even gonna let that message through. They don't need RFK. Any GOP stooge would be more than happy to introduce more entropy into the deep state.
Business, and we're going to take away your children if we, can't do, drive-through, transgender surgeries for minors without parental consent.
Right.
A thing that happens. Yep. True.
Lost their minds. And so, I love the idea. I love the idea of, giving him, some sort of role in some sort of, major, 3-letter entity or whatever it may be, and let him blow it up. I think that's what we need. And so I think that kind of unity, even where there may be certain disagreements on certain things, I think he could be a really great asset for that. I think he could bring people together. And I think it shows a strong, a strong opposition to what we are up against, which is just abject insanity. And I think if we had real unity, across independents and others in America to stand up for what we know is coming, what the media is doing a very good job hiding from us, which is the reality of the Kamala Harris platform, which is just a continuation of the Biden administration's platform. We don't need another 4 years of this. What's unique with this election, we had 4 years under Trump. We've had 4 years under Biden. When were you better off? It's sort of a no-brainer. And yet, when you're up against the trillion-dollar institution of tech, $1 trillion of mainstream media function.
Yeah, the CDC or SCC. I would vote on the CDC. Stay mad, troll. Yeah, I don't care either. That was, man, that didn't take long, huh? That didn't take long. They always show themselves, Michael Hassner. They always show themselves, Just takes a little bit of time. They always show themselves.
Functioning as the marketing arm of the Democrat Party, it's hard to get a fair shake. And so we have to expose that. And the more people that we had on board, the better. So I'd certainly be open and welcome to the idea, frankly.
Yeah. So Don Jr. called anything objectively insane. Pot, kettle. Yeah. These guys just want to go back to the Wild West. It's pretty pathetic. Yeah. Sources told Mediaite on Wednesday that Kennedy was preparing to drop out the 2024 presidential election as an independent to endorse Trump following the discussions between the two. It was reported last week that Kennedy had also sought a meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris to discuss the possibility of serving in her administration in exchange for an endorsement. However, Harris reportedly did not respond to the request, as she should not have. Yeah, amazing. So like it kind of plays into that like stuff that we were talking about yesterday. Like it's so obvious that like RFK is such a freaking fraud. And at least in the Trump world, he's a perceived useful idiot. A perceived useful idiot. The R stands for rat. Oh man. Because honestly, like I think like the only appeal that like RFK has, with Trumpers, like genuine appeal, is that he's anti Democrat and he's an anti-vaxxer. Like that's it. Like that's the two things that everything else they'll like toss him aside in 5 seconds. But if he destroys the CDC, then you know what? That's a plus for them. Or the SEC, more importantly, I imagine. And he's not Trump's, for the never Trumpers, right? That's true. That's true. He's not a Trump. UAW calls for a Palestinian American to speak at the convention, and I second that motion. He'd be under Trump's boot, though, in this scenario. Yep. And if that means he gets some power, then RFK will do it, because RFK obviously has no principles. And you could tell, like, this is all one giant, like, scam, right? Like, the idea that he was actually running because he cares about breaking the duopoly is just a sham. It's a scam. Because like, why would you go not only to the Democratic side and see what you can get, but then turn around and go to the Republican side and see what you can get? So it turns out you don't actually care about breaking the duopoly or whatever. Declare your independence, as his slogan says. I'm pretty sure like that's a slogan. I think I blocked him. I think I blocked him on Twitter. I'm not gonna sit here and find his profile. Anyways, Yoda is gonna be a great amplifier for based issues. Yep. Anyways, the United Auto Workers Union joined calls for a Palestinian American to speak on the final night of the DNC, implying that the party risked losing the election amid ongoing protests over the administration's handling of the Israel-Hamas war, genocide, in Gaza. If we want war in Gaza to end, we can't put our heads in the sand or ignore the voices of the Palestinian Americans in the Democratic Party, said the UAW on Twitter. If we want peace, if we want a real democracy, and we want to win this election, the Democratic Party must allow a Palestinian American speaker to be heard from the DNC stage tonight, said the union. Hundreds of thousands of people voted uncommitted during the presidential primaries as a sign of opposition to President Biden's approach to the conflict and perceived embrace of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Vice President Harris, now at the top of the ticket after Biden withdrew, is planning to send a message about the conflict during her remarks Thursday evening, although the speech will be focused mainly on policy issues, including the economy and abortion. The UAW endorses Harris in the November election, and union president, my president, Sean Fain, spoke on Monday on the opening night. He did not mention the conflict during his remarks. The union called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Israel and Palestine in December after Hamas's October 7 attack on the country sparked an Israeli offensive that has devastated Gaza. That's one way of putting it. Hamas has killed around 1,200 people in the initial attack on Israel and abducted about 250. The local health ministry estimates that more than 40,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israel in Gaza. The only times in my lifetime there have been third candidate that I wish had joined the Dems was Ross Perot and Gary Johnson, as both men were so positive in their views of Americans being individuals and not bow down to corporations and seeing people as numbers. I don't know about Gary Johnson though. He was like the libertarian cringe guy. I can't remember Ross Perot's positions because I wasn't politically there. When was Ross Perot a thing? Give me a second. When did that happen? That was under the Clinton Oh, okay, thank you. I was literally like, how do I put this without like saying too much information? I was in diapers. No, wait. Was I? Sure, we'll say that. I was in diapers, so yeah. Memo for the record. Welcome. Hope you're well. I'm hanging in there. Can I finish? Bro, that weird computer company. Pro-Palestinian protesters have gathered at the convention this week to condemn the administration's policies on Israel and Gaza. The protesters have accused Biden and Harris of supporting what they claim is a genocide. Pro-Israeli Democrats, as well as most Republicans, dispute and argue and downplay Hamas's role in the conflict. While their ranks are smaller than expected during the initial days of protests, which have been overwhelmingly peaceful, numerous protesters have been reported arrested on Tuesday after clash with police. The DNC did not immediately return a request for comment. A list of speakers for Thursday has not yet been released, and there is a supposedly like a blank spot at the convention tonight, so I don't know what that means, but supposedly there's going to be a mystery speaker. So like honestly, I'm not going to hold my breath that they're going to allow a Palestinian American to speak at the DNC, but they really should. They really should. If they care about hearing all voices and they want to make sure that, especially on this issue that is critical, it's just a no-brainer. But unfortunately, I'm not going to hold my breath for that. I just don't know. Should they? Yes. And if they're not going to allow, they've already denied her, so no Palestine speech. That's unfortunate. In lieu of that, since they're not going to allow, any a Palestinian American or a Palestinian voice to speak, as the article said, Kamala Harris might make remarks of that, then I believe she should mention and say something and be more clear as to what potentially could be different should she win the election, right? Because that is critical. Like, if she makes some kind of signal as to what she would do differently, and signal that she's willing to be open and say, you know what, this has got to stop. Okay, this has got to stop. And you know what, enough. Enough is enough is enough is enough. If she's willing to kind of, whether it be directly or indirectly, signal a more clear stance on what potentially could be different, I think that could be a game changer, since they're not going to allow a Palestinian American or a Palestinian voice to speak. They said no as of 2 a.m. I don't know if anything has changed. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. Honestly. I'm not holding my breath. Maybe Oprah will come back yet for another long-winded speech. It didn't seem like it, but honestly, like, I was hopping around from like Majority Report. By the way, you should check out. I know probably most of you do. I play his videos constantly, but you should check out the Rational National. The Rational National has been covering the DNC. If you want to go and cover and listen to the coverage of DNC with some like-minded individuals, the Rational National does it. I know the Majority Report. There's a few other channels that have been covering it, and I've been bouncing around. But where was I going with this? Man, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. The long-winded, speaking of long-winded, man, it took every single ounce of energy to get through that Bill Clinton speech. Talk about, like, long-winded. The Bill Clinton speech didn't seem like it was very long, but it was, like, eternal. Man, it felt like it was eternal. That Bill Clinton speech felt like it was the entire convention time. Holy yikes. Jesus. I do that all the time. Yeah, same. At least he made a self-deprecating joke about spending so much time at McDonald's. Oh my god, he needed a glass of water. Seriously, man. I think like at some point, like they needed to go grab him. Be like, okay, look, come. His speech wasn't bad. It was his speech that was bad. Yeah, like I was about to tap out right there. I was like, please, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I can make it. It was already late as it was. For me anyways. For me personally, it was already late. And I was like, please, I'm about to tap out. That's how he'd humanize himself. Stories about sneaking away from the Secret Service and for a Big Mac. The DNC always lasts until midnight. I saw on Twitter people were complaining it's too long. Yeah, I think so. Man, I've got work tomorrow, okay? Listen, I've got to wake up at 7:30 in the morning, and by I have to, meaning my cats will. That's not an option. That's not negotiable. I don't get to choose that. I don't get to choose that. So I have to wake up at 7:30. I've got work at 9. Okay, so as it is, life starts early in the A Difficult Truth household, okay? For me. And I need to make dinner. I'm so hungry. Me too. I'm starving, and it's already almost 7 o'clock. All right. Hey, folks. So speaking of, we're also to add to that tangent about the streamers and content creators who cover the DNC. The first Gen Z elected to Congress, Maxwell Frost, will be speaking. So if you want to check that out, consider joining any one of those streams. The Rational National, the Majority Report. I think several other smaller streamers on Twitch do it too. Tina, I think, does the DNC coverage. Formerly Left Flank Vets. Also does the coverage. There are several. It is a difficult morning. Let me tell you. We had a seafood Cajun dinner last night. Talk about being full. Whew. Wow. The Trump trout. Okay, we'll do that at the end. Don't worry. We'll leave it at that. Don't worry. The 27-year-old congressman and the first member of Gen Z to be elected House of Representatives had been serving Florida's 10th district since last year. Previously held the position at the National Organization Director for March of Our Lives, an organization that aims to make gun violence obsolete, and was created following the Parkland shooting that left 17 people dead. On being young in politics, Frost told NPR's Brittany Luce, "Most of the time when I face ageism in Congress, it's not going to be someone coming up and saying, 'You're young, you don't belong here.' It won't be overt like that. It's going to be implicit. I'm used to it because I've always been the youngest person in the room for many of my jobs." In 2022, Frost made headlines after speaking openly about being denied a rental apartment in Washington, D.C. due to bad credit. I just applied to an apartment where I told the guy that my credit was really bad. He said I'd be fine. Got denied, lost the apartment and an application fee that ain't meant for people who don't already have money. Yep. Which, why would you need to run credit to apply for a rental is beyond me. Spicy. Now that's something I can't do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's something I cannot do. I grow. It's funny because I grow incredibly spicy peppers. I grow incredibly spicy peppers, but I can't eat them. Mrs. Truth does. The future does look brighter with people like him stepping up. Yep. I asked for medium heat and it was blowing my nose. I never trust that. Nope. Every landlord does that now, which is BS. Just BS. All right, let's get done through here. Arkansas Supreme Court blocks the abortion measure. I'm priding myself in finally being able to eat meat, and well, I can't even handle that, so kudos. The state Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Attorney General Tim Griffin, who had accused the initiative backers for failing to submit the proper paperwork. Republican officials and anti-abortion activists have spent the last 2 years trying to stop abortion right initiatives from reaching a ballot. On Thursday, they scored their first victory, blocking an Arkansas measure that offered voters the opportunity to significantly loosen the state's near-total ban on the procedure. The state Supreme Court ruled 4-3 in favor of Attorney General Tim Griffin, who had accused the abortion right initiative's backers of failing to submit the proper paperwork. The petitioners failed to comply with the statutory filing requirements for paid canvassers, and that failure is fatal. Which is, come on. Justice Karen Baker and Courtney Ray Hudson, in their dissent, accused the Arkansas officials of unfairly changing the rules in order to disqualify the abortion rights petition. Quote, "This requirement was made up out of whole cloth. Regnant populace, the people rule is the motto of Arkansas. Today's decision strips every Arkansan of this power." Yep. The group Arkansas for Limited Government submitted more than 100,000 signatures earlier this month for the ballot measure that would legalize abortion for any reason up to 20 weeks of gestation and allow the procedure later in pregnancy in cases of rape, incest, and threats to women's health or life, or severe fetal abnormalities. The vast majority of the signatures were collected by volunteers, but the group also relied on paid canvassers. State rules require groups collecting signatures for a ballot measure to submit a statement signed by the sponsor, listing all paid canvassers and testifying that they were properly trained and provided a handbook of state policies. The legal fight involved a clash over who counts as a sponsor, among other provisions. So, distinctions without differences, semantics, for lack of a better word. And these guys claim to hate the bureaucracy. Right. They claim to hate small government, or they claim to hate big government and want small government, but end up actually using big government to intrude in people's lives and medical decisions. Arkansas's limited government disputed the state officials' claim that they did not follow the rules and argued that even if there was errors, they should be granted a cure period to gather more signatures to replace those ruled ineligible. The leaders of the other two ballot measures related to medical marijuana and gambling wrote a brief in support of the abortion rights group, arguing to the state Supreme Court that they had similar issues regarding paid canvassers but were ultimately certified. This inconsistency crystallizes the absurdity of their position, said groups of Arkansas Republican officials. Arkansas's limited government called the ruling infuriating, said it made a dark day for Arkansas, and pledged to keep fighting to restore abortion access in the state. The group is now exploring both further legal challenges and, should those fail, a potential trying again for 2026. Leaders told Politico they may mobilize people to vote in November against the two state officials who blocked their measures from the ballot. Secretary of State John Thurston, who's running for state treasurer, and Justice Rhonda Wood, who's running for Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court. We can't and won't rest until Arkansas women have access to safe and standard health care and the autonomy to make decisions about their bodies free from governmental interference, said the group. True. Exactly. Griffin, in a statement, called the decision a win for the rule of law in Arkansas and for those who have followed the rules for years to participate in the state's ballot initiative process. Whatever. Though the abortion rights ballot measures have passed overwhelmingly in red and blue states and purple states since the fall of Roe v. Wade, proving one of the progressive's most effective tools for protecting or restoring access to the procedure, Arkansas's initiative was always a long shot. Leading national groups that are pouring millions into ballot campaigns in Arizona, Florida, Montana, Nevada, and other states, including Planned Parenthood, Reproductive Freedom for All, and the ACLU, have declined to support Arkansas's initiative because they would allow abortions up to only 20 weeks rather than 22 to 24, that it was the standard under Roe. I mean, I feel like making sure that something like this gets on the ballot is far more important. But whatever. I will say that they should have backed this amendment. Abortion is banned in Arkansas at any stage of pregnancy with no exceptions for rape or incest. So just a flat out total ban, essentially. We'll keep an eye on this. If this changes, we'll keep an eye on it. Supreme Court partly grants GOP request to enforce Arizona's proof of citizenship voting law. Cool. The Supreme Court on Thursday granted a request from the Republican National Committee to make Arizona enforce measures requiring people to show proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote. In what is likely one of the many election-related disputes to come before the court ahead of November, the justices allowed for one of three provisions of the state law to be enforced. The vote was 5-4 on allowing limited enforcement of the law, with conservative justices on the majority. One conservative, Amy Coney Barrett, joined the three liberals in dissents in the court. In a brief order, did not explain the reasoning. Cool. Thanks, guys. Three conservative justices, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, said they would have allowed all three provisions to be enforced. More than 40,000 people have registered to vote in federal elections in Arizona without providing proof of citizenship, although state officials say most are inactive voters and only a small number will likely be affected. In the 2020 election, President Biden beat former President Trump in Arizona by just over 10,000 votes. The provision the court allowed the state to enforce would require officials to turn away attempts to register to vote using state's own registration form if the person has no documentary proof of citizenship. But the court kept on hold separate provisions that would prevent people without proof of citizenship from voting in presidential elections or by mail if they registered to vote using a different federal registration form. The case touches upon a widespread, unverified Republican talking point that non-citizens routinely vote in U.S. elections. Right. Like, that's the whole thing that I keep making the whole argument on. Like, if you think that there's an actual serious problem with our electoral systems, then you gotta provide the evidence so that the problem can be addressed. But if all you're saying is this nebulous problem keeps happening, so much so that elections are being overturned, that's just not okay. That's not cool. You can't just say that and provide solutions to problems that don't exist. Okay? Arizona's 2022, the Biden administration challenged that 2022 measure, saying that they violated a federal law called the National Voter Registration Act. The federal law requires those registering to vote in federal elections to attest that they are citizens, but does not require documentary proof. Arizona's 2022 law, which has never been enforced, it was itself a response to a 2013 Supreme Court ruling that invalidated an earlier attempt to impose a proofless citizenship requirement. Then, the Supreme Court said the National Voter Registration Act prevents states from adding additional requirements to forms people have to fill out in order to vote for federal elections. In the ruling's aftermath, Arizona enforced its proof of citizenship requirement for state elections, but not for federal. This effectively created a tiered registration process whereby certain prospective voters can register to vote in federal elections only. While the Biden administration objected to new provisions requiring proof of citizenship to vote for president or vote by mail, other plaintiffs, including voting rights groups, brought their own challenge focusing on state registration forms. State officials, including Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, have declined to enforce the law. The law is passed by Republicans, but Fontes and other state leaders, including Attorney General Chris Mays, are Democrats. I voted in Arkansas 16 times. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you exercising your civic duty to the max. From overseas. A federal judge ruled in favor of the plaintiffs in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on August 1st, declining to block the ruling. So anyways, the point being is that, again, we are being presented with solutions to problems that don't exist. These problems of non-citizens voting exist only in the heads of Republicans. Now, if they want to come with some actual genuine proof that there's actually problems within our electoral system that need to be addressed, that is another matter. But they have failed to do so. They have failed to do so. So that kind of makes or should make you question the motive as to why we would need solutions to problems that don't exist, right? The answer to that is because there are other reasons. There are other reasons behind this, right? They want to make sure that that people have more hurdles to jump through so that they can vote, and if they have more hurdles, it is less likely that they'll go through all this. Some people may not have the money to make sure that they have these documents, so they just won't vote, and that's kind of the goal. I voted in all 50 states and in D.C. Wow. Amazing. Thank you, Cognizant. Again, thank you for your civic duty. Pretty sure they raised all kinds of lawsuits following 2020. No real evidence even made it to court. Correct. Ever made it to court. Correct. Because it's just not a problem. Like the amount of actual real voter fraud that gets that is found is statistically null. Does that make sense? Like the amount of actual voter fraud that they really legitimately find is statistically nothing. Yeah, dedication to a country they don't even live in. Yeah, now that's dedication. They found it hard to find evidence because the deep state covered their tracks. Exactly. We got to talk about the real news, okay? GOP fever dreams are difficult to prove in court. Okay, can we just take a minute? Okay, I'm not going to go through the whole article, but can we just take a minute? Where'd he go? Is it not going to load? It swam away. Apparently so. He is pogging, but I wish I could show it. Come on. Well, I guess we're just going to have to deal with the freeze frame. A TV advertisement for Trumpy Trout is going viral for selling a talking fish that resembles former President Trump, seemingly inspired by Big Mouth Billy Bass. The mounted fish plaque with the animatronic talking bass. The Trumpy Trout is programmed with speeches littered with fish puns. The Trumpy Trout is orange with a head full of blonde hair and wears a suit and tie. It is being sold to the cult for $60. That's right. I just wish I could play this ad because this is just too funny. Maybe we could find it on YouTube. Yeah, there it is.
A message from the 45th President of the United Ponds of America.
Let's make fishing great again, okay?
He's here, everyone's favorite fish, Trumpy Trout.
No one has ever seen a fish like me.
Trumpy Trout is an animatronic talking fish with a big personality.
It is a real... Thank you, Heat. It's a real thing.
I am the hugely bigliest fish in the pond.
Watch his fins flap and his large mouth move as he makes speech after speech in high-fidelity sound.
Some bass are bad fish, crazy fish, criminal fish, and druggy fish. But some bass are good fish, and I only love some of them.
No way! That's an actual thing! Oh my god. Sounds like an Alec Baldwin Trump. The voice isn't even close. It's you know. It's a real ad running on Newsmax, by the way.
To your wall or use the built-in stand to display.
I'm actually gonna... Oh my god. Not accurate. His ear is an incher.
Him proudly on your desk. Now you'll never miss a Trumpy Trout rally.
I'm building a new pond, and the bass will pay for it.
Set him to motion activated to surprise his fans. Fans.
My fins are big. I have the biggest fins. No fish have fins like me.
Or turn him on and let his inspiring words delight the crowd.
All the fish love Trumpy. They just love me.
Catch Trumpy Trout for yourself or someone you love.
Oh, they can try, but they can't. They just can't.
Treat yourself to this limited edition Trumpy Trout for just $59.99. It comes with your official Make Fishing Great Again certificate of authenticity. Order right now and we'll instantly upgrade you to the deluxe version with desktop stand and Trumpy Trout jingle free.
He is the greatest trout without a doubt, the biggest fish.
And for even more fun, we'll give you a discount when you buy more than one.
We got the show.
Chicago's been holding it down. This is Chai Bureaucrat. Hey, welcome. Welcome. Wolf Clan, Jesus. This is a real ad, by the way. Like, it's an actual, it's an actual product. Like, it's literally... That voice would defeat the purpose. If you give that to someone you love, expect to get shot. Yeah, are you at the DNC? Because that's pretty, that's pretty awesome. I'm sure, like, I've been watching. Chai Bureaucrat. I don't give away coordinates, but we've been out there. Nice.
Line secure.
Nice.
No bass in this pond.
Supplies are limited, so don't miss your chance to hook the greatest fish of all time.
I am the greatest trout, and there is no doubt.
This is a limited edition collectible from Top Dog Direct. Order now at TrumpyTrout.com. That's TrumpyTrout.com.
That's a legitimate. Yep. You can order it. Live here, can't miss it. He has the biggest school sizes. Well, it's good to hear that that you guys are out there. All right, folks. I like to sue that company for mental distress. Anyone care to make this a class action suit? Oh, man. All right, folks. It's time for me to get going. It's time for me to get going. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget, hit the follow button, do the awesome stuffs on YouTube. I see you guys. A bunch of you guys have liked the stream. Thank you. Keep doing that. Thank you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys want to support the channel, there are many different ways. Consider checking out the merch store and tipping your streamer. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kamikazion. Thank you all for the support. Thank you to the new follow. I appreciate it. You guys are what makes this channel grow. We'll be back on Monday. If you want coverage of what's going on, there are different lefty streamers that are going to be covering the DNC, I'm sure, as to what goes on there. Join the Discord, folks. I forgot about that. I almost forgot about that. Join the Discord, folks. Last Saturday, not this one, but the next Saturday, we're going to do movie night. We're going to be watching Dune number 2, folks. Dune 2. So watch the first one if you haven't already done so. Join the Discord. It's also a great way to keep up with the channel. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you. Thank you, and good to see you, Chai Bureaucrat. Thank you. I'm glad you stopped by. Thank you. As always, folks, we'll be back on Monday. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday. See ya. It's basically a weekend, folks. The spice must flow indeed. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.